is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Good morning or afternoon, or whenever you're listening to your podcast, everybody. This is Brendan Gaughan of Gone Racin with Mr. Jeff Motley. And Mr. Jeff Motley, you are not in the beautiful studio with me. You are at your second home, your original home, Martinsville Speedway again.
I am. A big thanks to the folks here at the Speedway, Clay Campbell and Tim Southers, for letting me use the media center here at Martinsville Speedway, where they just raced about a week and a half ago. So it's always good to be home. Unfortunately, this trip is trying to do an estate sale on the family home. So a lot of work going on this week here in southwestern Virginia.
Well, it's home, and like I said, it's for somber reasons, but we're glad you got to spend some time at home. And Tim Southers. Man, I forgot Tim Southers was at Martinsville. He took place of he moved in for Mike Smith after Mike Smith moved out.
Yeah, and he's actually doing more of a customer service kind of position now. They've moved a bunch of stuff around, but Tim is still here. He now lives here in the community and stuff. And
cool.
And you and I have known Tim for a long time. So
well, tell him I said hi, and I miss him and his track, if he can believe that. Let's talk about what we need to talk about, though. Is last week, of course, Jeff, you were not here, so we did not do a crapshoot count. But I made sure I got at least a couple in with me and Wyatt because, you know, you love to say that. And the guy that we've been poo-pooing all season long about, for not one season, how about what, 3-4 seasons long, about how much he hates these places, comes home, Kyle Busch gets the win at Talladega. Jeff, it was his, by the way, that was Kyle Busch's 62nd win, personally.
And his second career win at Talladega, but the first one in 15 years, which, again, illustrates what you said.
I texted him because one of my last years at Talladega, we're sitting in the driver's meeting. I'm sitting right behind him. He turns around, and he looks at me, Jeff, and he goes, "Why in the bleep do you come here? You know, I'm only running 4 times a year, and I come to Talladega. I go, I love these places, Kyle." He goes, "Why? What are you, stupid?" He goes, "I just did." And he starts yelling with me about, you know, how and so I texted him and said, "Hey, you know, since that's your 62nd win, I think that's the best win of your career. You know, little 62 love, you know, since you know, I love that place so much." He laughed. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "Wouldn't have mind that being my 63rd and winning at Daytona, though." You know, Kyle, always wanting more, Jeff. Always.
Well, but he's never won the Daytona 500 either. And I mean, that's really the last feather
crown
he needs to put in his hat is to do that. So.
Well, somebody on the show did not pick him to win the race on Gone Racin. Somebody on this show, Jeff, may have actually picked him to win in real cash money, but that doesn't count on Gone Racin.
It doesn't? Can I get a recount?
You can show the ticket all you want.
Oh, man.
But you didn't bet it on the show.
You know, that's funny. I was scared not use real money to pick Kyle Busch, but I decided to use my money, my hard-earned money, to pick Kyle for some reason.
See, could have almost got you back to even for the season too, but didn't do it.
Darn,
didn't do it.
I'm not even following the logic on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Fake money he doesn't bet, but real money he does.
I'm only allowed 5 picks. You know, I did bet 10 guys to win, so.
So he barely won any money.
You know, look, if the top 10s would have the Eric Almirola top 10 was looking so good throughout the entirety of that race, and those last 3 starts sucked.
Well, let's get to the odds that do matter on this show, Mr. Motley, which is what happens with the bettors on this show. And Kyle Busch wins at Talladega. To win, he was 16-1. Nicely done, Wyatt. Top 3 was a 450. We talked on the show. That was an amazing number for a top 3. You know, I mean, for Kyle Busch. Group C, 260 to win. Top Chevy, 125. One of us lost that bet. That was his first win in 15 years at Talladega. And kind of a fun side note to this was they played on television, Jeff, you know, with Randall Burnett calling him in for fuel, and he went too late. The first and top 5 of my career was for Penske at Talladega, and they called me in, and I said no. I just flat out said no, and stayed out. And we got, you know, a top 5, finished 4th at Talladega doing it, and I chuckled and I talked to Kyle. He's like, look, I had already won. I mean, it's not like we're not in the playoffs now. I'll be okay. I wanted to win the damn thing, and if we pitted, we were going to be back in, you know, Rec Central. So great move on Kyle to. You know, he said, "Oh, dang it, I already passed it. Too late." Yeah, he just basically told the crew chief no.
Well, that's what's the thing I was trying to figure out. I mean, if it's anywhere near close, and the fact he already has a win, there's no way you're pitting right there. I mean, run it out of gas. What's the worst that can happen?
Ty Gibbs, that's the worst that can happen. You have a shot, restart 3rd, and you run out of gas on the restart. Oh well, I mean, you know, Ty was going for the same sort of thing and ran out of gas. Oh well, that's.
But it was a bigger risk for Ty Gibbs because he does not have a win like Kyle does.
But he was doing the same position I was, which is, hey, I got nothing to lose. I'm going to finish where I've been running 20th, or I'm going to go for a W. So I like it. If you look at top 10s, Motley, another bunch of good numbers for top 10s. Our main man, Ryan Blaney, he not the closer to win races for us, but man, he knows how to get to the end of these races. He's plus 275 in that second place finish for second. And then Chris Buescher was third place, and our man Chris Buescher, who cashed his tickets, plus 600 for Chris in third position. Now, that was an amusing one because with the way the race ended, they had to go back to cameras. Chase Briscoe was scored third, then got pushed back to fourth, which gave Chris Buescher that cash in the ticket. But a good run for Buescher all in all, and a good run for RFK with Brad Kay ending up fifth. That was a great run for both of the RFK cars.
Yeah, and probably, the guy was probably even a little bit disappointed, even though he came in second, was Ryan Blaney. He probably was the best car out there. Bubba was ahead of him on that restart, and then, of course, Bubba ends up crashing and causes that big wreck on the last lap. But look, it's kind of like Blaney said. He goes, you can block me once, you might be able to block me twice. You just can't block a guy 3 times on the final lap and think it's going to work out well. And Bubba, I thought he did a good job of really kind of stepping up and taking the blame. I mean, he's like, look, I was doing everything I could, but it was nothing he was going to be able to do.
No, and I wouldn't say it's a blame game at that point. I would say that's just racing at Daytona and Talladega. That's what you have to do. He was making the blocks. He was trying to stay in front and do what you could do. And sometimes, discretion and valor, and he went for valor. He went to go for it, which I love Bubba for that one. Keep going. So it happened.
And I think all of you guys as drivers know that you block at your own peril.
Oh,
right?
yes. There's ain't no doubt about that. Is you're going to throw that block in the Xfinity race. Daniel Hemrick, got wrecked pretty hard, and he threw a block too late. Noah Gragson in that race, running third with the one thing to go. He made the mistake. He left the door open and then tried to come down and block. And as much as how I kind of talk about. That wasn't Ross Chastain's. That wasn't, but it wasn't Ross Chastain's fault. You leave a middle at Talladega. No. You're leaving the middle. Noah left a middle. He came down too late. Should have just at that point he's bringing home a milk carton instead of a car to finish 12th. And that's what it is. That's part of that racing. Let's look real quick season standings. I think maybe Jeff will talk to the boys at VSiN. Right after this, we're going to start maybe putting that cut line up because I think the cut line is going to start being more important to watch than just the overall standings. But Kyle Larson still sits on top with the 2 wins and the points. Christopher Bell is actually your point leader once again. But I'm looking down at that bottom. I see something, Jeff, on this overall in the playoff standings right now. How about 14th and 16th? 2 RFK cars sitting right now in the playoffs had they started today. Which, if we had said that last year or 2 years ago, we would have all shook our head and said, not a chance in hell. Now you got Brad and Chris Buescher both sitting in a playoff spot.
Yeah, you're right. You got both of those guys in, and we hadn't mentioned the one bit of news this week that Alex Bowman is out and Josh Berry is replacing him again. We're also staring straight down the gauntlet of the possibility that Hendrick only gets 2 cars in the playoffs if Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman don't find their way to victory lane, because Alex is going to miss at least 3 races, maybe 4. That's not going to be easy to make up the way some of these guys are going. Heck, maybe Josh Berry should have been running for the cup points. He's going to have so many starts in this year.
Yeah, great job for Josh Berry, though. I mean, how about just make the best out of a situation you can. Josh getting a lot of reps this year in the Cup Series, and Alex. We talk about it, not on this show, other NASCAR shows, about do you let guys run other things? This is the risk you take. So he's out. Like you said, it's tougher for him. I think Chase Elliott, we all believe, is going to win a race. Alex, sometimes he's streaky. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he doesn't. But you take away shots, it's going to be tough. So that is a big piece of news.
Yep. And Alex only won 1 time last year, and that was in Las Vegas early in the year, and he kind of mailed it in after that. So
yeah, so I mean, right now, and when we get to the end of the show, we talk about the futures, right? The championship odds. Alex Bowman's odds are going to plummet right now. So now's the time. Wait 2-3 weeks. See how far that number goes. See if we go back to bet on him. Let's get a upcoming schedule real quick. This week, of course, we're going to talk about today is the Würth 400 at Dover. Then we're off to Kansas City, the 1.5 miles, the Advent Health 400. Then to the Mother's Day weekend race, one of my favorites, and the Darlington, South Carolina Mother's Day race. That is absolutely one of our favorites. Then Motley off to an SMI interesting little deal we got going. The North NASCAR All-Star Race at North Wilkesboro. And kind of excited to see the return of that. And then, of course, the week after that, as always, the Coke 600 out at Charlotte at the home track. So really fun schedule coming up. They've been doing a good job of that. And then also Dover Speedway. What do we got? It's the 1 mile oval track, Motley. Absolutely love this track. So freaking tough. The Monster Mile. Miles the Monster for a reason, man. It is so difficult. It's the only place that we as a driver feel a sensation of speed. It's Sunday, April 30th, 2 p.m. Eastern. Chase Elliott's a reigning winner. 105 races at Dover because they used to race twice a year, every year, Jeff.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy going to Dover. It's a great racetrack, and you kind of never know what you're going to get up there, I mean, we've had some guys that have dominated there at times, but I do think if you're Chase Elliott, this has got to be the week you got to be thinking, okay, I got a chance to get that W.
Well, yeah, Chase Elliott has, 12 starts, 9 top fives in those 12 starts. So, I mean, he's pretty spectacular there. We got some great Dover track record stats, Jeff. There's some guys here, and right off the bat, 9 races, 9 top fives for Chase Elliott. Absolutely phenomenal. Kyle Larson, 11 top 10s in 14 races. Absolutely phenomenal. There's guys here that know how to get around this track. I mean, look at that Kevin Harvick number, 23 and 42.
Yeah, one of Martin Truex Jr.'s
home tracks. Another home track. He's got three wins at the home. If we added up all his wins at home tracks, he does really well when he's at home.
He's got a lot of them.
All right, guys. When we return, we'll get to the odds at Martin's home track, Dover, in a second.
This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Welcome back in, everybody. Gone Racin and Mr. Motley. We are just getting ready to start the Würth 400 odds to win the race at Dover, Delaware. Miles the Monster. And Jeff, we start off and look, I love this track. I don't know about you. I don't know how, and it's not, now it's in your portfolio, right? It's the SMI portfolio. No, it's still.
Yes, that is a Speedway Motorsports track. We bought Dover and Nashville.
That's right.
A couple of years ago.
But it wasn't before. It was always its own standalone deal. And I got to tell you, man, one of my favorite places in the world the one thing that the fat kid is so upset about not doing anymore is going to Dover because Medding and Sons, if you get up there, you got to go to the Meddings, man. Great family, but they got the greatest seafood restaurant in the history of mankind.
The place I used to go up there was Sambo's.
Everybody talks about Sambo's. Everybody talked about Sambo's. I'm telling you, couldn't hold a candle to what Robbie Medding and those guys do over there. So good. Crab pretzel and the she crab soup.
You know what I could never get over at the Sambo's trip one time? You remember Jim Phillips used to work for MRN?
Yeah.
They called him Chopper. Jim Phillips probably didn't weigh 135 pounds soaking wet. And I can remember him sitting there and having a plate of crab shells piled up so high you could barely see him.
Nowadays it's $1,000 worth of crab, the way current crab prices are.
Yeah. Well, this was in like 1998.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely $1,000 worth of crab now. All right, let's get to the odds to win this race instead of the odds of what it takes for me and Motley to polish off a plate of king crab legs. That'd be very low odds, by the way.
Spoken like a guy that has restaurants in a casino. By the way.
I can go downstairs Friday. Oh, that's right. You're in Martinsville. We could have them for lunch, but you're not here. So we'll start off with Kyle Larson as your favorite at plus 600, William Byron 650, Chase Elliott 750, Denny Hamlin, C. Bella at 900s. Then you got double digits starting with Martin Truex Jr. at his home track, Kevin Harvick 11, Ross Chastain 13, Kyle Busch 16, Tyler Reddick 17, Joey Logano 22, Josh Berry 25. Nobody is the same here to let me run off more than one name at a time. Ryan Blaney is 28. And then Daniel Suarez, Chris Buescher, and Chase Briscoe at 35-1. Thank you very much, DraftKings, for making sure that everybody was exactly 1 point away from each other. That made
participation. We wanted everyone to get their love.
Everybody has their, I get it right there. Kyle Busch, 16-1. Do we believe in momentum again? Is the RCR team's back? I look at this. Chase Elliott won this race last year. Does he come back, well from this one? The Kevin Harvick stat, 11-1. He hasn't won. A lot of numbers on this first page that stick out. Josh Berry's on the front page. I mean, how about that at 25-1? But nothing really jumps out and says, ooh, that to me is where I want to lean.
I think that 750 is a pretty good number on Chase Elliott, given the fact he is a defending race winner. And maybe if there's anything that kind of I'm like, when I look at this for odds to win, 22-1 on Joey Logano seems like a pretty high number on a guy like Logano. So I'm kind of with you. It's a tough one, although I do like the number on Elliott, and the Logano one intrigues me because that's a big win if he were to win the race.
Now, there's one on the second page I want to start out. This is why I want to get to the second page quickly, because there's something big I want to talk about here. You start off with Brad Kay, another 35-1er, Bubba Wallace 40, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece at 55, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 60-1. Eric Almirola 65, Michael McDowell 100, Austin 100. Okay, blah, blah, blah.
The one I thought you were going to pause on was not the 60-1, but the 65-1.
No, I'm looking at Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished second in this race last year, right when they came out with this new car. Remember we said this new car was great for JTG. They had a bunch of really good runs early. Things were looking good for them. And Ricky's been running. He's got to win this year, guys. I mean, Ricky is running well. He finished second in this race, and it wasn't like second from fuel mileage. He finished sixth in stage 2. He was up front all day. And this is a place that you go back and look at it, last 10 races. Ricky's not bad here in the last 10 races. He's got 3 top 10s in the last 10, which now, if that's Joey Logano or Kyle Larson, we're like, man, that's not very good. But that's pretty darn good. 60-1 for the winner. Maybe I'm not going to do him to win this race, but I like that. I'm going to keep an eye on that Ricky Stenhouse when we get to the top 3s.
Well, I was going to say, when you see 60-1 to win, you're going to look at the top 3s, and you're going to see a pretty high double-digit number on a guy like that. And again, I brought up Almirola, 65-1 on Eric Almirola. I'll put it this way: I like Stenhouse and Almirola to win this race better than I do Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, or Ryan Preece, and they're getting better numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. I think that's just kind of the odds makers looking at the way overall things, but they're not looking at the microcosm that we can kind of drill down into. Let's get to those top 3 since we want to get to that and talk about a little bit of where we can get to Ricky Stenhouse. Top 3 start off with Kyle Larson at plus 170, William Byron 185, Chase Elliott 200. Then you start to get some decent returns here. Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr. at 250s, Kevin Harvick at 300, Ross Chastain 350, Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick. I like both of those numbers at 450. That's the same number Kyle had last week for a top 3. Joey Logano, 600. Josh Berry, 7. Ryan Blaney, 800. And then Daniel Suarez, Chris Buescher, and Chase Briscoe, all at 10-1. How about that? I mean, Ryan Blaney, the guy that we know always stays up there at damn near everywhere he races. Not very good here, but still 800. I really do like that Kyle Busch and Tyler Reddick, though.
Yeah, it's kind of for me, I say, okay, let's just whack those top 3 guys off the top here because there's really not much to be made there. But, boy, after you get past those top 3 guys, those are good numbers on some guys who have got some pretty good track records here. I mean, you're looking at Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin. I mean, both of those guys, they're going to run well. Truex loves this place. I mean, he's been so good here, and it's certainly a track he's going to come into with a lot of confidence. But I'm with you. You get to those bigger numbers like what you see on Tyler Reddick, what you see on Joey Logano, some of those guys. This is very enticing for a top 3.
Well, let's get to that second page because I want to get to that number that I want to look at. And on the second page, we lead off with Brad Keselowski at 10-1, Bubba Wallace 11, Ty Gibbs 14, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 14, Preece 15, Eric Almirola. There's your Eric Almirola 16-1, Michael McDowell 28, Austin Dillon 28, Austin Cindric 28, and then some of the longer shots: Eric Jones, the Dinger 40-1, Noah 80-1. I'm looking at that Ricky Stenhouse number, and it intrigues me. It really, really does. Something about that 14-1 and looking at his recent performance here and recent performance. You and I love to say, what have you done for me lately, Jeff? He's done a lot lately.
No, he has, and I can understand why you would look at it that way. And I see some of those other bigger numbers down there. Look, we didn't even mention the fact that Todd Gilliland pulled off another top 10 last week at Talladega, and every week he seems to be getting a little bit better and better. And there's going to be some week where Justin Haley or Eric Jones are going to step up and knock out a top 3 somewhere. And you look at how big those numbers are at 40-1. There's definitely some guys here for a change worth taking a flyer on. If somebody wanted to throw down a $2 bet, there'd be a big return on it.
Well, and look, we're just right now focusing on the top 3s and the wins and those sorts of things on Gone Racin. there's top 5 bets, there's top 10 bets. You know, the Front Row Motorsports team, Michael McDowell and Todd Gilliland, they have been running, and Zane Smith once, him and Todd switch off. That they're being top 10 now is doable for them, and they come in with large numbers even for a top 10. So just because you're listening to us and we're talking top 3 and wins and, do our head-to-heads and all of our stuff, doesn't mean that you're limited to this is the only way to bet, Jeff. I mean, I really would like to look at what Todd Gilliland or Michael McDowell is for a top 10.
So at Will Hill, Todd Gilliland's plus 550, McDowell's plus 400, and Ricky Stenhouse is plus 180 for a top 10.
180, yeah, and that doesn't. I don't doubt the 180 on Ricky now because what we just talked about.
But a plus 550 on Todd Gilliland, the way he's been running lately. I mean, look, and you talk about momentum, Brendan, but I think there's also another word in there, confidence.
Yeah.
And you've got to believe that Todd Gilliland is getting more and more confident, by the race. And he kind of came into a rookie situation last year against Cindric and Briscoe where, those guys were in probably better equipment, better situation, and those guys kind of really blew him away. But now, I mean, Gilliland, he's starting to come in his own. In fact, if you want my opinion, I think over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been better than Briscoe or Cindric, either one.
Well, and remember, Todd Gilliland's kind of running for his career right now. Todd is not full-time anymore. They got Zane Smith splitting time with Todd in that car. So every time Todd gets in it, he has to fight hard, and he's showing up and doing well when he does. So I do like that. Like you said, a William Hill number at 500 on him. I mean, I don't dislike that, especially when you look at what that team was able to do. I mean, I'm looking last year, Justin Haley finished 11th, just outside the top 10 in this race last year. And that was also, we were talking about how well the Colleague cars were running early on. So there's numbers in this, not just because we're talking top 3s, doesn't mean you have to stop at the top 3s. You can spread this around and make life easier for you, go top 5, top 10, and find some decent numbers.
Yeah, and one other little last note on Gilliland, he's probably the only guy this year that's got a top 10 with 2 different race teams. Because he wasn't running with his normal race team last week. Zane Smith was in that car. So he's got top 10s with 2 different race teams this year. That's pretty impressive.
That actually is tough to do, too, because, I mean, you don't normally get those opportunities to do it with 2 different race teams. So that's I didn't know that. That's a Jeff. That's like Jeff Motley's. What's the guy's name? Wyatt from
my Larry McNugget.
Yeah,
my Larry McNugget.
What was the guy from Martinsville that he went off on? Can't remember his name.
Oh, the Canadian driver. I can't remember.
Earl Ross.
There we go.
All right.
Ross.
Let's Earl Ross when we come back. More odds.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show for that matter? Check out the Gone Racin podcast. It's free and available now at vsin.com/podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know to head straight to the betting counter before each NASCAR race. While you're there, catch up on all the rest of your VSiN shows as well. vsin.com/podcast. Not bad. Professionally unprofessional. I made it. Wyatt had a little look of fear in his face because I was working on notes over here and then had to run back and grab the sheet for the read. And he had this look of like, you almost forgot. I didn't forget today.
Thought Isaiah was going to get him. See, this is why you got to tell the host about the. I was like, I did tell them about the.
I had it. It was right here. I had it. Welcome back in.
Brendan, have both of the countdowns been right this week, though?
Well, I think that Wyatt, after Isaiah had to sit behind the glass last week and proved that he counted us down perfect every time, we now know that Isaiah is doing it intentionally. So I feel for a few weeks he has to take care of Wyatt and try to actually let it,
He's just upset that I keep picking losers.
Well, is he doing any better?
I told him that, but he mentioned it to me today. Like, you know what? Hey, I accept the full blame for the pit crew's very poor record right now.
Wow.
Pit crew's got a longer losing streak than Ryan Blaney right now.
Yeah, let me tell you, if Jeff, if Brendan hits Ricky Stenhouse top 3, we might as well just call the event off. He's call the winner.
Listen.
I'm going to need to pick a Todd Gilliland win somewhere.
Good luck on that one. You guys need to start calling Karina more often as the problem pit crew, because when she was here, y'all were kicking butt. Now you guys kind of leave her out in the woods and, Probably need to consult
Whoa,
your
whoa.
professional.
She gives a couple picks, but hey, when I inherited it last year, we were down 30 units, and we won. So I'm just saying,
I'm just saying. Well, let's get to trying to make some units here, and the stuff that's been working well this year for us, even though it is small. But listen, a return is a return, Jeff, and that's the head-to-heads. You're picking a 50-50 mono-e-mono, and this week you have a great don't line. If Jeff, we talk about don't lines. Kyle Larson is the one today. You can get William Byron at plus 105, Chase Elliott at plus 120, or Seabell at plus 120 to a Larson minus 125 or 140s. I don't know if I really want to take that bet, though. Chase Elliott maybe intrigues me a little bit with that plus 120, but that's about the only one on the Kyle Larson don't line that I look at.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. The one that I like is because I probably would say, okay, Chase Elliott about maybe plus 105, Larson maybe minus 120, 115. Boy, to see a plus 120 for Chase Elliott against Kyle Larson, yeah, I like that one a little bit.
And Seabell only got 4 data points, finished 4th in this race last fall, whatever you call it, spring. This will be spring. Thanks. Glad I could figure out what season it is. I don't mind the 120 Chase Elliott. I mean, here's the deal. Larson just took a hellacious hit, right? Maybe he's a little sore from that deal. Maybe he walks into Dover, which is a place that it's physically demanding, and he just kind of says, hey, I've got a couple wins in the bag. I think I'm just going to cruise around here today, but I don't know if that's really his style.
No, I don't think that's his style. And I said, looking at those head-to-heads, and we talked about Chase Elliott, I think the one I like better is the 105 against William Byron. I know Byron's, got off to a really good start this year, and he's been strong this year. But I'm telling you, Chase Elliott, I got to believe he's on a mission this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I do like the Chase Elliott 105 to Byron's minus 125. I look, you got a couple plus numbers on Ross Chastain versus Martin Truex, 105 to 125, and versus Kevin Harvick, 105 to 125. The only problem I have is we talk about what have you done for me lately, Kevin Harvick, right? I mean, that's kind of always what we do. Well, yeah, Kevin Harvick's still here lately. His last 3 races are 1st, 6th, and 9th. So that's pretty strong, even for what have you done for me lately. It's tough for me to pick on that one.
Yeah, he's pretty comfortable here. And the last one over there, I just think it's kind of cool. Chris Buescher is getting a negative number by his name in a head-to-head. We hadn't seen Chris Buescher in the driver head-to-heads very much at all. And to see a negative number by his name where Chase Briscoe is even money against him, pretty cool. I'm not going to bet it because I don't really think there's anything to win, but it's kind of cool to look at.
Warms your heart to see it. Warms your heart. And Denny Hamlin.
Because we like Chris Buescher.
We do like Chris Buescher on this show. We are a big fan. Chris knows that too, by the way. I tell him he knows that we give a lot of Chris Buescher love in the Gone Racin' VSiN book. But Denny Hamlin's 105 too. I mean, Denny Hamlin. This is a place that Denny is pretty fantastic at. 6 top 10s last 10 races, average finish 7.6. He's got a minus 125 to William Byron. Is this the time that we see William Byron do his usual vanishing act for a few weeks? He's got the couple wins. He was the hottest guy in the sport. Do we see him fade now? And now I got a 105 with Denny Hamlin?
I would say that's a good possibility. I like Denny Hamlin on that one too. I mean, you're probably going to see me have a little love on Chase Elliott when we get into the next segment of the show. But I do like Chase Elliott against him, and I like Denny Hamlin against him too. Maybe that's the dope line bet, which I learned my lesson on that.
All right. Well, let's get into what is our favorite, of course, here, and that is our group matchups, because the group matchups are where, we just, it's so much fun, the group matchups. Group A this week is William Byron is your favorite at 260, Chase Elliott 275, Christopher Bell 275, Denny Hamlin 275. The problem I have with Group A is it's boring. They're all even. It's all across the board, and I can make an argument for each one of them.
But you know what I like about Group A if I'm betting? Chase Elliott's a defending winner of this race. We know Chase Elliott is hungry for a win. And the one guy he does not have to beat to win Group A is Kyle Larson, because they didn't put him in it. So to me, a plus 275 for Chase Elliott. I know he's like plus 750 to win. He's like plus 200 for a top 3. A plus 275 to win this group. I actually kind of like that number on Chase Elliott.
I can see that. It's to me that, how you always say, normally Group A's, this year I've been betting Group A's because there's been some fun ones. This one, not a real fun one to me. It doesn't stick out to me. Now, we would have a Group B, and Group B probably had Kyle Larson. I did not see Group B before it went off the board. Well, of course, we get Westgate groups. They're the ones that, thankfully, thank you guys, the Westgate, put these odds up early enough for us to do the show. But Group B got taken off the board because it had Alex Bowman. And now Alex Bowman is out and Josh Berry is in.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have put Larson in Group B, given he's a favorite to win the race. I think this is all an Alex Bowman, Josh Berry play there.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I just don't know if you don't see Kyle Larson in a group.
So we got word. Kyle Larson wasn't in any groups this week.
Oh, no Kyle Larson in a group. Okay, well, there you go. You're right. So the Group B thing was it strictly was a Josh Berry move. When you lost Alex Bowman, they took it off the board. They did not place up a new Group B, so we're down one group this week, and we'll jump right into Group C. And Group C leads off with Tyler Reddick, co-favorite with Kyle Busch, and then Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney.
Well, that's a big number on Joey Logano.
Yeah, but Kyle Busch.
Okay, but Kyle Busch, I guess because I haven't really been impressed with the Childress cars at Dover over the years, I guess. I don't know. And Reddick has not impressed me as much as I was expecting in that car right now. I don't know. I just like that big plus 295 number on Logano.
See, and the thing for me is I look at all these guys. I go, Ryan Blaney, average finish 18.8 in last 10 races, just 10 races. Joey Logano, 14.5. Kyle Busch, 12.4. So, I jump right off the bat and look at the Ryan Blaney. This is not a place. One top 10 in the last 10 races. Tyler Reddick, remember, only 4 data points. One top 10 in 4 races. Average finish of 17. So, to me, I kind of can take Blaney out of that play. As you said, Reddick maybe isn't impressing you enough. It goes down to Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. Bigger return on Joey. So, maybe you look at the bigger return and say 295.
That's what I like.
All right, there you go. There's spoken for the man. Let's get into Group D, and Group D there's our main man. He's crawled out from Group F all the way up to Group D. He leads the way. Chris Buescher, plus 260, against his teammate, co-favorite, 260. Chase Briscoe, 260. Bubba Wallace, 310. I'm sorry. Brad, the problem is Brad's running really well right now. If it wasn't for Brad, I would circle Chris Buescher and put like asterisks on it and call that my lock of the week. But Brad Keselowski been running pretty good. He's been cashing tickets for us. Cashing tickets the week that Wyatt doesn't bet him.
Well, I think what I do like here is I think it is a 2-man horse race, and those 2 men are both at plus 260. Heck, you could bet both of them, and I think you'd end up winning. But I do like Buescher. I'm kind of with you here, but I really, really do think those 2 guys, Buescher and Keselowski, it really kind of comes down between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I got nothing screams in my head, Bubba or Chase Briscoe out of that group. Let's jump into Group E real quick before we go for break. And Daniel Suarez is your favorite at 235. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 265. Ty Gibbs, 285. Ryan Preece, 310. Now, this is one that Daniel Suarez has kind of disappeared right now. Does anybody else agree with that statement?
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on there. I'm kind of perplexed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, we had so much high hopes for him, and now, like, where did he go? But Ryan Preece surprises people a lot. And, I do like Ryan Preece, but I talked about Ricky Stenhouse start of the show. Ricky Stenhouse, 265. I don't know. I kind of like that. All right, when we come back, guys, we'll get to Group F and our prop bets and our picks when we return.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And welcome into the professionally unprofessional. We got one, Motley. You weren't here to see it. We got one. We got a good one, too. Like, he had finished one.
Isaiah accelerated, too. He was like, 5, 4, 3. I'm like, oh, wait, no, I screwed it up. I'm like, God, bless this.
That was awesome. Oh, you should have seen Wyatt back there, too. He put his head down, he cursing Isaiah downstairs. Welcome back in Gone Racin', where we have more fun than any show. I don't care what the network, but especially VSiN. We are finishing up the Würth 400 at Dover Dover, and we're in our group matchups. We just finished Group E, where I got to put my money where my mouth is, right, about Ricky Stenhouse. I like Ryan Preece at 310, but I've been bragging about Ricky. I'm going to stick there. I don't think I've ever really bet Ricky in my life, so Ricky, don't steer me wrong this week. Let's get into Jeff Group F.
Well, I bet him last week to win a group, and that didn't work out too well for me. So,
how did he not win? He's still anyway. Group F. Eric Jones starts at 245, AJ Allmendinger at 260, Justin Haley 290, and Austin Cindric 295. Now this may look like everybody scratching their head, going who, why, where, when, but I look at this and I look at what have you done for me lately, and I circle right in on that Justin Haley pick. I mean.
Yeah, and his teammate there, Allmendinger, is plus 260. Jones is comfortable here. Cindric is a guy, I don't understand why Cindric is not running better. Someone has to explain that to me, why he hasn't done better in that car.
No, and I'm with you. I mean, Eric Jones finished 10th in this race last year. So I can look at Eric Jones and say, well, he was 10th last year and he's on the same team and blah, blah, blah. But lately, that Legacy Motor Club has not looked very good. So
no, they finally had a good run last week at Talladega, but
it's Talladega.
This is Dover. It's a big difference.
Exactly. So I'm jumping on a Justin Haley bandwagon. I kind of like that pick right there. And the Dinger just not. We're waiting for road course season for the Dinger, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm holding off for with AJ. Let's get to our prop bet that we have here. And Jeff, for I think maybe the third time this season, third time this season. We have a negative number next to Chevrolet's name. Chevy is your favorite at minus 110. The Ford's at plus 225, and the Toyota's at plus 300. We all understand the Toyota, not the Toyota, the Chevy minus 110. Jeff, I kind of like that Toyota 300.
Yeah, honestly, the two on the plus line there, Ford at plus 225 and Toyota at plus 300, you got some good drivers out there. You talked
Denny
about
Hamlin,
Harvick,
Martin Truex.
Well, you've got everybody
Ford, yeah.
really, but the Hendrick cars that seem to be the top guys that are in contention here. So whether it's Truex or Hamlin or Tyler Reddick or it's Joey Logano on the Ford side, Kevin Harvick on the Ford side, I mean, there's definitely some guys out there not driving a Chevy that I think are certainly capable of winning this race. Now, I think a Chevy's going to win this race, but I like the odds for Ford and Toyota.
And I poo-pooed Chase Briscoe, a little bit just because we kind of glanced over him really quickly because his stats don't show much for the two races he has here. But Briscoe's been running, I would say, the best car out of Stewart-Haas at the moment, many of the weeks right now. He stepped up to be almost as good as Harvick most weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, a lot of those guys have run well. They just haven't been able to put it together.
Finish well.
Ryan Preece was amazing right here at Martinsville. I mean, if he doesn't have a pit stop violation or speeding penalty on pit road, he probably wins that race, given how hard it was to pass. So, and Harvick, he's been consistent this year. He just hasn't been able to put it together and get to victory lane.
Yeah, so I don't dislike the Ford or Toyota number. I kind of like that Toyota 300. I think that with Tyler, Martin, and Denny and Martin, of course, their history here, I think that's a pretty darn good number there. Let's talk a little bit real quick about the championship odds. And, normally we don't talk about the championship odds every week on Gone Racin', but this year, every week we've had reasons kind of to talk about it because we keep getting changes. Now, Alex Bowman is out. The preseason, he started at 30-1. He had worked his way down to the low teens last week. Now he is right back to where he started preseason at 30-1. Chase Elliott had gone up to 10-1, is back to 700 for, currently. So you got to watch the ebbs and flows of these numbers. I think you might be able to get Alex Bowman here in another 2-3 weeks at 45, maybe even 50-1 if you hold off for the 3 weeks or so that he's going to miss.
Well, maybe. I think that these numbers here reflect the odds makers knowing that he's not going to run for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I agree with you. I think if you're going to jump on Alex Bowman, I'd say now is probably as good a time as any.
I think it's going to get. I'm on the hold button on that one because I think he's going to go further.
Give it one more week. Let's see.
And Ross Chastain has gone the opposite way. This is a guy that was second in the points last year, had these amazing runs. He's still running well. It's not like he's running poorly. He's gone down to 15-1. So Ross Chastain going the right direction for bettors if you want to jump on that bandwagon and get a good number on Ross Chastain.
Yeah, that's kind of, we talked about the whole Trackhouse team. Ross hasn't been as good. Suarez has really kind of disappeared. So, maybe it was part of, remember last year we talked about this time of year, about how great Trackhouse was doing, and maybe part of it was the new car and everybody was kind of even. And then would the bigger teams start learning more and more about how this new car runs, and is that going to have a negative effect on Trackhouse? And maybe it has.
Well, I don't know about negative effects, but what I do know has a great effect is my standings in Gone Racin this year. I just want to throw that out there. I'm feeling pretty strong right now.
A total reversal of last year. You were terrible last year, and the pit crew was killing us. And now you're doing great, and the pit crew's getting killed.
If this was golf, we'd be winning right now.
This is not golf, though, unfortunately. You look last week, I got a couple W's out there. I had Blaney to win Group A. I had Kesey to win Group B. And thank you to NASCAR and their scoring line and their cameras, because it got me the W over Jeff Motley. Gave me another solid winning week at plus 4.4 units for the season. The Dominator. I mean, just killing it.
You and I killed Austin Dillon by both picking him.
Yeah, I know. That stinks for us. That stinks for AD. But all right, so season standings, of course, when we do our picks, we always go worst to first. And last year, I spent a lot of season picking first. So I love to sit here and say, Wyatt, you get to go first.
Oh, boy. Yeah, the pit crew got bad luck on that last crash. But this week is a new week. For the pit crew, we're going to go with Denny Hamlin over William Byron, plus 105. We're leaning heavy on Chase Elliott. Beat him in Kyle Larson, plus 120, and then to win his group at plus 275. Joey Logano to win Group C, plus 295, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to win Group E, plus 265. That is from Isaiah.
I'm not happy now.
Well, you think you're not happy. Given how bad the pit crew has done.
That's what I mean. I'm not happy now. I'm matching way too many of their picks right here. This is not good.
I'm matching 3, and I almost matched 4.
Let's hear yours.
So I'm going to go Elliott plus 105 over Byron.
Gotcha.
And then I am sticking on that Chase Elliott bandwagon. I've got Elliott in Group A. I've got Logano in Group C. I've got Stenhouse. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one here. I got Chris Buescher in Group D. I'm going to go head-to-head probably with somebody here. And then I'm going to go Stenhouse in Group E. So, yeah, I have 3 of the same 5 as the pit crew, so I'll probably be even farther down in the standings next week.
Oh, man, this week stinks on the picks for Gone Racin'. I am not happy about this. All right, so I'm going to lead off in the head-to-heads, and I'm going to go with Chase Elliott plus 120 over Kyle Larson. Then I'm going to go to Denny Hamlin over William Byron 105. Really? We just screwed those two guys. Then we're going to go to the group matchups. I will go head-to-head with you, Mr. Motley, in Group D. I do like Keselowski. I like Buescher also, but I think that Chris or Brad right now is riding a pretty good wave of what he's doing. And then I'm going Ricky Stenhouse in Group E. I talked about him so much the show. I don't have quite the confidence for that top 3 number again, but I like him. And then Justin Haley in Group F. I'm going down all the way to Group F.
So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will not win his group.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is absolutely crushed. Absolutely crushed him. Sorry, Ricky. I go to bet you one week, and we gave you the kiss of death.
Hey, look. Great minds think alike, you know? I'm so good. Brendan's going to go -5 this week.
I was just going to say, I matched the pit crew way too much right here. I'm suddenly feeling like I need to completely redo the show. Can we start over?
Well, Brendan, you and I each have 3 of the same picks as a pit crew. The question is, who's going to be
the two outliers? Who's going to get the 2 outliers?
Exactly.
All right. Well, guys, that's our show this week. Mr. Motley, thank you for, once again, take care of family business. We love you back there. Give everybody hugs. And thanks to Clay and not Mike, but Tim for letting you join us from Martinsville.
I'll look forward to be back in the studio next week.
About time. We've been all over the place. We've been crisscrossing the country, you and I. So that's our show today, guys. We really appreciate you joining us, talking about the Würth 400 at Dover, Delaware. When we come back, we'll talk about, what was that next race after this one? Oh, Kansas. We'll bring up Kansas. That's right. We'll do Kansas next week and break down all the great things that we did and all the jinxes we gave everybody. So with that, I will say see you next week on a count out. They went the right numbers.